I'm here to empower and inspire the next generation.
This week, the creator of the curriculum, DJ Hapa.
DJ Hapa.
Sometimes you are given something and it is really your job to figure out, do I take this as is or do I try to find what lies beneath?
I am so grateful and so blessed to have been able to do so many amazing things through my career and through my life. But the biggest blessing is getting a chance to wake up every morning excited to see what God is going to do through me next. All right, here we are. I'm excited that you're here. My name is DJ Hapa. You can call me Coach Hapa. Welcome. We are excited to be able to bring you a live DJ help, and we are planning on doing this every single week. Yes, that's right. We want to bring this to you every week so that you can get help right where you are. So it doesn't matter what your experience level is. Maybe you just got started literally yesterday. This is the right place for you. Maybe you've been DJing for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Welcome, right? We welcome everybody from every single level that is here. I want to make sure to be able to get your questions answered. I noticed that there's not a lot of space out there to be able to do this. So there's a ton of people making YouTube content, which is great, myself included, where you put together what you think people want, and then you put that out into the world. There's also podcasts that are out there, and that's great too. But there's not a lot here where somebody's able to teach live and walk you through this. And just so you know, this is my background. So this is actually 22 years of teaching for me. I know, it's crazy. It's gone by so fast. I started teaching in 2004. I used to run a school called Scratch DJ Academy. Shout out to all of my Scratch fam that is out there. I still keep in touch with a lot of my students from that period in my life. But for 15 years, helped build brick and mortar DJ schools in different parts throughout the U.S. More recently, in the last 5 years, I have launched something called the DJ Coach. Our goal is to empower the next generation of DJs, no matter what that looks like. Kids, adults, senior citizens, anybody who wants to learn how to DJ and level up their DJ skills, you've come to the right place. So we obviously have some stuff that's here on YouTube. We also have our website, thedjcoach.com. You can find a solution that works for you. If you need help finding that too, feel free, reach out. This is how we're going to help out and help that next generation. So tonight, what I wanted to do is I wanted to start in a place where I got a question about this, and I want to break this down. And so this is where I'm going to start. But if you have any questions as we go throughout this evening, make sure to put them in the chat. We've got some folks that are here. I see DJ Clags, who is in the chat. Welcome, Clags. Good to see you. And as you have questions, feel free to put them there, and I will do my best to get to as many of them as I can tonight. That's what this is about. If you have a friend who maybe you want to share this with, make sure to share them this link. Let them know that we're live. They can bring their question. And by the way, even if you don't have questions, this is a really great space to be in because you're going to learn from other people's questions. I feel like a lot of times today, the way that most of us learn is we type something into a chat bar or a chat, some type of search bar, and get the answer back of what we think is maybe the correct answer. This is a bit different. You're going to be learning alongside other people. And so the idea that somebody would ask a question that you didn't even think about asking, that's the real benefit. That's how we're going to really accelerate growth. Okay, so let's do this. This is where I wanted to start. So let's go ahead and jump in. What if you recorded inside of your DJ software, and when you record, number one, you notice that the recording is a lot lower in volume, number one. Number two, you also recognize that the recording itself is in a different format other than an MP3. So it makes it very difficult to sort of send this to somebody. So it records in either a WAV or AIFF file. How do we convert that? So I'm going to tackle both of those things as we talk about them. So number one, when you record inside of your DJ software, you are not tripping. It is recording at a lower volume. And I'll tell you why. With most recorders, it records at a lower volume so that you can boost it up afterwards. What you don't want is you don't want to have a situation where when you record it, it's distorted. because you've maybe overdriven the system, right? And you're putting out too much sound. If it's distorted, there's no way to fix that. I kind of take that back a little bit. There are different tools that you can use now with AI and such that you could fix certain things potentially, but it is not ideal. It would be better that you recorded something a little bit on the lower side and that you're going to then amplify that up afterwards. So you're not tripping out when you sort of see that. So I'm going to show you a couple of things today. One is I'm going to show you how to record inside of your DJ software. When we record it, what we then can do is we can take it to another program to amplify it. Or in this case, let's say we were just fine with the level of recording, the level of volume. I'm going to show you how to convert it. So let's go to, I'm going to go to my computer first. Let's go, I'm using Serato right now. So let's go ahead and switch over there. So recording in Serato. Now, I'm going to bring up something here. Let's go ahead and play this track. You should be able to hear that. Yeah, you got that. Okay, good. So let me just turn off my, I've got laptop speakers on as well. So let's go ahead and record. So if I were to go ahead and do this, you will see I click on the little record button here up at the top. That brings up this panel. Now, in this case, I have a mix or a video mix option that's here. Depending on the controller you are on, you might have some different options in your dropdown. I can change the recording location. Right now, it's sending to this recording folder. I'm going to leave that there for right now because I want to show you where that's located by default. And then this is our record button. And this has some interesting behavior. So let's just record something really quick. Let me go ahead and start that again. I'm recording. I'm jumping around to different sections. It's maybe okay, so I just recorded something. I'm going to hit stop on the recording. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in. Do you see how there's a number value here? That means that the recording is stored there. I know this is a little bit small maybe to see, but this says 25 seconds is what I've recorded. So if I hit record again, there's going to be a major problem. It's going to undo my recording. It'll start recording over what I just recorded. So I don't want to do that quite yet. I'm not done yet. It does not autosave inside of Serato. So instead, I've got to call this something. Let's call this recording live heaven. It's kind of interesting. Recording live heaven. All right. Now I'm going to hit save. Once I hit save, it's gone into a recorded folder. And this is where it is, recording live heaven. Now, I'm going to show you a shortcut on this real quick. So actually, before I show you the shortcut, let's load it just to make sure it's the same. Yep, that's everything I did. Jump to a different hot cue. You'll also see that I pulled the volume fader down here. Filter. Cool. So it's got everything that I wanted here. That's all good. So now let's say, where is this actually stored? So we're going to Command R, and that's going to bring up this location. So Command R, remember that one. Command R, that'll bring up the location of where it's at. But let me show you another way to do this. If you're on Serato 4.0 or above, I can control click, which would be a right click, and I can go to show in Finder. See that there? And you'll see that there's a little shortcut, Command R. So when I bring it up, this is where it's located. You'll see that it's an AIFF audio file. It's 4.9 megabytes. This was a 25-second clip, and it's 4.9 megabytes. So this is really important to share with you. A WAV file or an AIFF file is sometimes referred to as raw audio or lossless audio. This is what it would sound like if you were in a recording studio and this is the final file that you're getting. It would be a WAV file or an AIFF file. It's a high quality file. It's the highest quality file you could have when it comes to audio. Now, WAV file versus MP3. So let me actually go and I'm going to bring up my whiteboard here. So let's switch over to my whiteboard. So we've got WAV. I'm going to put it on this side. WAV. It's WAV, right? It's like a .wav or a .aif. And this is like our AIFF file. Right? Now there's some other options. Like you might see something called FLAC as well. These are all raw audio. So this is like raw audio, which means that they're better in quality. See my little plus sign, better in quality, but they're also bigger in terms of files. Then I have compressed audio, which would typically be known as your MP3. So when it comes to an MP3, you've got different types of MP3s. And when it comes to MP3s, there's such thing called bitrate. So the bitrate range can go at the highest 320 to all the way down to, I think the lowest I've ever seen was like 47 or something like that. But in here, you've got some other popular options like, what have you got? 256, 192, 160, all the way down. Now, what does this mean exactly, Coach? Well, when you have a waveform, say we have a waveform, we've got different frequencies that are here. And what happens is as you are compressing the audio, what you're doing is you're cutting off the high highs, you're cutting off the low lows. So as this number here goes from 320 all the way down, right? If we keep going down, what it's basically doing is, in a nutshell, it's cutting off more of this. So we're not actually hearing this. We're not actually hearing this. Right? Let me see. I don't know why it just disappears, but you get the idea that like we're still going to hear this middle section here. So we're still going to hear the song. It's just that we're not going to hear the low lows or the high highs, right? It's really eliminating some of this extra space, which is why the file is also smaller, because we're not getting all of this data. So it's a smaller compressed audio. Once it's compressed, it cannot be uncompressed. So once it's been shrunken down, it's basically chopping these pieces off. And then that's it. You can't take a low quality MP3 and now amplify that and now make it a WAV file, which, by the way, we'll talk about this here just in one moment. So it's important to note this. So I need you to understand. So now some of you might be saying, well, of course, why would I even want the MP3? I only want the WAV file. That's not a bad thought. The only problem is that not everything comes as a WAV file. Also, this is going to be 6 times bigger than a high quality MP3. This is going to be 6 times bigger. So if you think about that, right, for a small library, maybe that's okay. But as you continue to build your library, that's going to start to really eat up that space in your hard drive. Not only that, but then the files also are much bigger files and they're harder to move around. So that's our whole thing today. Today, what I was going to show you is, because I've recorded this, I recorded myself doing a mix. This was only 25 seconds. But realistically, I'd probably record a 15, 20-minute mix. I mean, if you recorded an hour mix, think about that. That's 6 times the size of what that would be. So let's go back here, though. And based off of this, right now, I want to take this AIFF and I want to convert this, let's say, into an MP3. So let me show you a couple ways to do that. The first one is I'm going to take this into Apple Music. So if I double click on it, because I'm on a Mac, it's going to by default open up inside of my Mac. We can go to Songs, and this is going to, did it open? Let's try this again. There we go, recording live heaven. It's playing on my side. You can't hear it. It's coming out of my MacBook speakers. But here we go. I have recording live in heaven. Now let's go ahead and find that. Let's look for it based off of what am I sorting by? Kind, last played. No, yeah. Nope, that didn't show up there. Okay, so let's try it by title. Organize that by title. Recording live. There it is. Recording live heaven. Okay, so we need to convert this. We need to convert this one. So if we go to music settings. Inside of our settings, I want to make you aware of a couple of things. So all of you who use Apple Music or you're using a Mac, you should check these settings. This is really important. Advanced. No, sorry, files. It's in files. In files, this right here should be checked off. You see this copy files to music media folder when adding to library. Some of you have double of everything. At least everything that's opened up inside of Apple Music. You have double. You don't even know that you have double. This is Apple's kind of sneaky way of making a copy of that MP3 or that WAV file. And again, if these are WAV files or AIFFs, you now have double of those. So if you made a mix and that mix was half an hour and that thing was, let's say, a gigabyte in size. And now when you brought it into Apple Music, it made a copy of that. Now that's taking up 2 gigs on your actual laptop. And let's say this was just a practice session, which, by the way, you should be recording your practice. I know what you might be thinking. Coach, I'm not ready to record. Yes, you are. Record. And you should record when you feel like that. When you feel like you're not ready, that's exactly when you should be recording. Your recording is going to tell you so much. It's going to give you so much information. So make sure that you're recording. And this is why this lesson is important to be able to share. Okay, so let's go back here. So I want to make sure this is unchecked. Very, very important. Make sure that this is unchecked. Now under it, I have import settings. I'm going to click on that. By default, it's going to be your AAC encoder. Now what you'll notice is that it's very small in terms of size. This is a 256 kilobytes stereo. The AAC is. I'm going to change this though to an MP3 encoder. And then I'm going to change it not to, look, it shows good quality, high quality, higher quality. Higher quality 192. But there's also custom. So if I click on custom, I can now get this up to 320. And that's what I want. I want this up to 320. So now when I convert this, let me show you how. I only have to set that once, by the way. Once I've set it, I don't have to worry about it anymore. So now that I'm on this recording live heaven, I can now go to File, Convert, Create MP3 version. And now it's done. So this one is an MP3 version. So you'll see that this one is an AIFF and this one is an MP3 version. Now, where this is located is here. It's located in music media, unknown art, or music. It's look, music, media, music, unknown artist. I hate that about iTunes. I hate the fact that it organizes stuff that way. It's so hard to find anything. And so on the front end, Apple makes this really easy because it's user-friendly on the front end. The problem is it's kind of like going to somebody's house and it looks immaculate and they've basically shoved all of their junk into this closet. That's all they've done. The junk is still there. It's just you can't see it right now. That's kind of what it's like on a Mac in a lot of ways. And I'm not trying to talk bad about a Mac. I love my Mac. At the same time, things like this, it's easy to access. Now, the reason why they make a copy of it is because that is what allows them to then have that song in the ecosystem. Meaning now when I open up my iPhone and it syncs with iCloud and it does all these things, that then I can get it right away and all of it is there. And it's almost like it's magic. You have no idea how it got there. I personally want to know how it got there. I want to know where it's located so I can find it if I need to find it. So in this case, we have it. There it is. This is the MP3. Let's go ahead and show this in Finder so you can see that as well. So here it is in the Finder. So here's the unknown album. Look at the size. This is 1 megabyte versus 4.9 megabytes. Much different size-wise. And I would challenge almost anybody to listening back to back the AIFF version and the 320 MP3. I would challenge you. I don't think that you'd be able to tell the real difference. I really don't. It's pretty undetectable at that level. Even on bigger speakers. It's not exactly like it is noticeable if you're talking about a 160 bit rate MP3 versus a AIFF. There's a big difference here. But between the 320 and this, there's not that much of a difference. Like you're not really gonna hear that. And for the amount of space that you can save on your computer, I think it's worth it, especially for your recordings, especially when you're recording stuff. So hopefully that's helpful for you. I do want to encourage you to make sure that you are recording your sets. I'm going to say it again, record your sets, and don't just wait until you're ready to record. You should record everything, truly. And then you should listen back. And usually what I would recommend is to record a couple of times through and then listen back later. But if you have the recording, now you can actually learn from it. You can listen back to it with an objective ear, because I'm sorry, while you're in the middle of mixing, you're not going to necessarily get the most accurate observation. You might think that sounded good. Then you go back and listen to the recording. You're like, ooh, that didn't really land right. But that other part that I thought sounded horrible, that actually could work. You're going to learn a lot from that. I often talk about this as being like game film. You're learning off of that, right? In the same way that professional athletes or collegiate athletes or athletes at a certain level are learning from watching the game film back, this is what you're going to get by getting the recordings and watching that back. Plus, now that you have it as an MP3 version, now you can share that with people within your inner circle, people you trust, maybe your coaches, maybe teammates, people that are around that can give you honest feedback. Be very careful of these people, by the way, that you send them a mix and they're like, oh yeah, it was really good. What was good about it? We need specifics. We need details. Otherwise, it's not good feedback. I know it makes you feel good to have somebody tell you, oh, that was amazing. That mix was amazing. But you want to know what was amazing about it. What part of it was amazing? And that person doesn't have to be a DJ. They just need to be able to highlight, and be specific. They don't need to be a DJ. They could say, hey, I really like the way that those two songs fit together. Like, I would have never even thought of mixing those two songs together. Not a DJ, but is able to give you that type of specific feedback. So hopefully that helps. For a lot of you who are out there, have to know how to convert this. And then I want to shift gears really quick. And on this same topic, I know I kind of briefly talked about it, but there was there was a comment, and we kind of went back and forth earlier today. There was a comment about something that I had posted up. We had a video that was up on YouTube. It's still up on YouTube. And there was a viewer who was suggesting that beginners should download only AIFF and WAV files. And I believe that that is actually bad advice. And I'll tell you why. Number one, it's not possible that you're going to fill up your library with only AIF and WAV files. I know some of these people. I've met some of these people that have actually been led down the wrong path by other pro DJs telling you that you need to have lossless files. And it's absolute horrible advice, because there are some tracks that you'll just never, ever get the WAV file for. And even if you did, I've actually got a friend in Saudi Arabia who's got this tool that I'm actually very excited to be able to try out. And we're going to try it out here, and then I'm going to also share this link with those of you who want to try this out. But he's got this software that he built to figure out, is this file really a WAV file? Like, is it true? Like, not does it say it's a WAV file, but instead, does it have all of those elements of what it is? Is it truly a WAV file? And he has this detection that he has on his side to be able to figure that out. But the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of people that are out there that are saying that, like, I can go and convert YouTube to WAV. And technically they're not lying. You could convert YouTube to WAV. The problem is that the original quality of the stream was not a high quality. So you are recording a WAV file technically, but that does not mean that it's quality. You get my drift? That would be the same as me having a really distorted photo that I took off of some really crappy like smartphone from 15 years ago. And I had that, and I printed it out, and it was somewhat pixelated. And then you came along with a $3,000 like professional camera and took a picture of that picture. Technically, you would have a very high quality photo of a really crappy pixelated photo. And that's what's happening in the audio space. And so there are people that are being tricked into thinking that they are getting all like this library that's high quality. And the problem is that it probably isn't. It probably isn't. There's got to be. I don't know anybody who has a library, a DJ library, that is only WAV and AIFF, and all those files are studio grade quality. And if so, the only way to do that would be if you were producing your own music and you controlled the output yourself. But the second you're getting music from other sources, there's no way of telling, except for this friend of mine who has this tool now that we're going to find out. We're going to start to expose things, which I'm excited about. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Don't fall into that trap though, folks, and don't feel bad for anybody who's getting music from record pools and you're getting 320 bitrate MP3s from record pools and they sound good to you, and when you're playing this off your speakers, you still get the low end, you still get the full dynamics of what it is. Do not feel bad that that is not a WAV file. Because there are songs, like I'm saying, literally, that do not exist. The WAV file does not exist in its pure form. There's no way that you could get your hands on. Here this is. This is the Beatles, Yesterday, WAV file. Is it? Really? Like, did you know for a fact that that is? So, yeah, keep that in mind. And ultimately, like, to me, there's a little bit of, like, I don't know. There's a little bit of snobbery in that to some degree. I'm not saying about the person who made the comment on the YouTube video, but just in general, I have heard that from certain DJs that sort of, you know, kind of turn their nose up at other DJs because, you know, it's like, oh, all of my files are WAV files, you know, all of my files. And I think some of them are going to get really exposed with this tool that my friend has. Okay. All right. We are looking for any of your questions or anything that you want me to go over in here. This is about the live teaching, so I want to prioritize everybody who's here live. I see Low Beats is here. Shout out to Low Beats. I see Terrence in the chat as well. Nelson is here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's see. I've got Coach Bry on the back end. Okay, so Low Beats asked a good follow-up question. Can we delete the AIF after making the MP3? Yes, 100%. In fact, I would recommend it, because there's really no need to have it. And the other reason why we're talking about this, right, is specifically about your practice sessions. What you don't want is you don't want to have 30 gigs of practice sessions that don't like you were just using them for reference. So I would get in the habit of maybe setting a reminder, some type of, you know, task to maybe every month going through your recorded folder and clearing things out. Like anything that you don't want anymore, clear those things out. It still might be helpful to have a few of them in there, but like for a lot of that, you probably don't need it anymore. So make sure to do that. And then Terrence is asking also, what is the best program to record? I think the best program to record is the one that is the least amount of friction. So there's two that I really recommend. There's two things that I would recommend. One, record inside of your DJ software. Now, in order to do that, you need to make sure that you're playing MP3s. So you can't be streaming. Can't be using streaming music in order to record. There is a way around this. I can't show it to you here on live on YouTube. It is absolutely a bit of a hack and a bit of a workaround. For those of you who are in on our Discord, maybe there's a way for me to show you that on Discord, but I won't be able to show you that here on YouTube or on Twitch. So that would be my options for you would be record inside the DJ software. That would be the primary option. Number two is you could use something like OBS. And OBS is meant for broadcast more than anything, but that's actually what I'm recording a lot of my content in is OBS. And it's video. But you can also record audio, and you can separate the audio and the video as well. But also, recording audio can be, recording video can also be even better, because now you're also able to see yourself as you're recording. Another option is literally just be able to take your phone, and your phone has a recorder on it, right? Either video on the phone or pure audio. Go to voice notes. Put it next to where the speakers are. Record that. Remember, this is really just for reference at this point. And then later on, when you want to put out a more professional grade mix, then yeah, you would need to look for something better. But I would rather you be recording just off of voice notes so that you can hear back what it is that you're doing. And then another thing that I would maybe recommend is something like this. This is a small little recorder. Here, let me pull this up here. This is a small little recorder. Got this on Amazon. I think I paid 30 or 40 bucks for this. It's great. It's got a direct input, so I can go directly into this and take it in as line level. So that's just a little 3.5 millimeter input. You can see there, right? So I would just run out of my controller into that and then just hit record. And now I'm getting high quality audio that's coming through on the recording device. And now I don't even have to worry about it. It's not putting any strain on my laptop. I love recording my live sets at gigs with something like this because it really is low friction. Set it, forget it, don't have to worry about anything. When the gig is done, hit stop, go back, listen back to things, and here it's all on this little device. We will find, maybe Bri can find, there's a link to our gift buying guide on Amazon. And maybe Coach Bri can find that link and put it in the chat because this is a good thing to have. Okay, cool. Other questions? What else do you have? I know we were talking about recording. DJ Market, welcome. First time in the chat. Awesome. It's either Musman or Museman. What model is that? Are you referring to the recorder? If you're referring to the recorder, I'll have Coach Bri put a link in the chat for where you can get some of the things that we recommend, including this, including the book. For those of you who don't have a copy of this, this is great too. Having this, I'm a little bit biased. I wrote this book, but I'm saying like this is a really great resource to have. I use it all the time. All right. Let's see what else we got. Anything else that you want to put in the chat, go for it. Otherwise, I think we had a couple of other questions. Coach Bri, there was another question that you had that you wanted me to answer. Do you remember what that was? I told you to remind me, but how do we use the sampler? Right. Let's talk about that real quick. So, many of you are familiar with these sounds. Right? Like a siren or a sounds like that. We get questions about this, so I want to show it to you. So this is called the sampler. Inside Serato, we've actually got this little air horn symbol. If I click on that, that's going to bring up this section here in the middle. You'll notice that I've got 8 slots in the sampler. Now, what I'm going to show you tonight is not only just the basics of how to use the sampler, but I'm going to show you a little bit of the advanced way to use the sampler as well. So I've got 4 banks. Now, one question you might have is, where do I get sounds? You can get sounds from so many different places. One is that there's a website called Splice. Splice offers a ton of different sounds and sound packs. It's really designed for people who are producing music, but there's also like one-shots and things like that that you can grab off that. There's also a ton of content that's just floating around on the internet for free in terms of sound effects and things like that. If you're looking for the highest quality, though, I would definitely check out something like Loop Masters, which is a Beatport company. So you can find that on the Beatport store as well. And then there are some other free resources. And for those of you who want that, let's see, how will we do this? Send us an email. Send me an email, hapa@thedjcoach.com. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you a link for joining us here live, or even watching this on replay. I will send you a link if you want it. I'll send you a link to a sample pack, like the sort of a simple sample pack that I use. A lot of the sounds from there are things that, you know, are 808 drum sounds and hi-hats and things like that, siren, sub-drop, and that'll at least get you started. That'll be a nice way of like getting you started. So if you want that, Coach Bri can put this here in the chat, hapa@thedjcoach.com. Email me and we will get you out a link to a starter sample pack. In the meantime, though, let me show you this. So I've got 8 different slots and I have 4 different banks. So I can switch between the different banks. And it's not just one-shot sounds I can put in here. I can actually put even full tracks in here. So I'm going to get you thinking about the sampler maybe a little bit differently, because technically you could use the sampler to just be able to trigger different songs. So let's see, how would you use that, Coach? Well, let's say you were playing for a sporting event, like a game or whatnot, and you wanted to have a sound effect or a loop of some type of instrumental track during a timeout or during a, whatever it is. You could load those things into the sampler and basically trigger them on and off as you needed them right here inside of Serato. So right now, though, my bank A is all going to be for these one-shot sounds that I have here. Now, a couple of things. This is sometimes hard to see, but there's this little volume slider, little volume fader for each slot. So this is great because it allows you to maybe pull down the volume of something. So like my sub drop, I pulled down to about half volume, or maybe I want my siren to be a little bit lower. Right? We have the ability to do that. Now, see the play button on each of them. You can actually see the wave file itself. So that's a great way of just making sure that it is what it is. And then what you have is you have the ability to, each one has its own BPM. So you could also, and each one also has a sync button. So you could see how you could really use this and be able to sync multiple things together. Now, that can get a little crazy if you were doing all of that, but essentially you could use Serato DJ Pro similar to how sometimes people are using Ableton Live, where they're launching different clips and turning clips on and off. You could do something like that inside of Serato DJ Pro's sampler. So some people might use that way. I think the most common way is to use this as a one-shot sampler player. Down here, I've got a loop button. So in this case, I don't want my DJ Hapa to loop. I don't want that to keep looping over and over again, so I have that off. What you'll also notice is that the behavior of this has a little dotted arrow. It's maybe very hard to see because it's pretty small, but there's a straight line and a dotted arrow. So let's go ahead and change that. So I clicked on that. Now there is what looks like an H, and I think that's the easiest way to think about this, which in my crazy brain, I now make that H mean hold. So when I hit the button, nothing happens when I hit the button, but if I hold it, right? So then I have to actually hold it. So that's the H. Now the last one is that it is on and off. So when I click it, so I'm going to hit the button, which is Z on my keyboard. And when I hit it again, it goes back to the beginning. So it turns it on and turns it off. So there's 3 modes. In this case, this one plays all the way through. So I can't actually stop it. So if I were to, if I hit it again, it's actually going back to the very beginning and playing again, right? So in this case, you have to figure out what's the behavior that you want of your different sounds. In some cases, maybe you do want it. You want it to be where you hold it down. Now, on the controller, let's look at the controller real fast. So on the controller, I've got my sampler mode. I switched to my sampler mode. Now, right now, I've replaced my sampler mode with stems. So let me go ahead and bring it back to sampler. So here we go. So now this is my sampler. So now I've got slots 1 through 4, slots 5 through 8. Right, so I can now have these drum sounds. I can play them out. I can do all sorts of things. I've got a hat. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to use the sounds over on top of a track. So as maybe the track is playing, maybe it falls into a section where there are no drums. Maybe I want to add sort of an 808 kick drum underneath it. So maybe it's something like, let me find that track that I was using before. It's Heaven on Earth. So maybe as it is in a here. Right? Like you could add something there. Now, the nice thing about being able to have the sampler is that allows you to sort of play something alongside of what's happening and lets you add a little extra flavor to what's going on. But this is the way to use the one shot. Now, again, as I was teasing about this, there's a lot of other ways that we can use this. So let's go back to the sampler real quick. And you'll also see that if I click on the little gear icon, this will open up some other options. So I can actually have this start from a hot cue. So for example, let's just go ahead and take this entire track. Let me go to a slot that I'm not using. Let's take this entire track, and I'm going to drag the whole track in there. So I've got the full track in here. So now what I could do is it's set to play and pause from wherever I'm at. Now, if I go ahead and click on this, I could have it from the start, or I could take it from any of these cues. So if I took it from, here, let's go ahead and take it from Q3. So if I take it from Q3, that's going to bring it from this cue here. You see this little pink cue? That's basically my drop. So if I were to play it, let me see if I've got that. So you gotta like know what you're doing here. But like, yeah, I can play it from there, right, and be able to trigger it by just whichever hot cue I wanted to take it from. This is very helpful. So you can always drop a track in here, especially if you had a certain section of a song that you would want. You can pop this in here and do it based off of that. You'll also notice that I've actually got the pitch and time enabled, which means that I can lock the key, and then I can also change the actual BPM of what's happening. So as it's playing live, I can also change the BPM of wherever that's at. Cool. These are just some different ways to be able to use the sampler. Let me actually show you one last thing here in the sampler, which is my, let's go to, yeah. Okay, so I've got a couple of different loops that are here. So if I wanted to, I could sort of trigger this loop. I'm going to set this to, yeah, on and off. And actually, I'll just have it keep rolling. Okay, so on these, we can actually set these up to be and I can sync them. I still got to bring my timing still has to be on. But as you can see, I can have all of that going, and you'll also see on the actual controller itself, they're blinking because they're live. So I could use this to be able to mix this back into the track that's playing, because remember, this is not actually taking up anything on my deck. I still have my decks available. So when you talk about being able to mix more than 2 songs, like technically inside of Serato, I could mix 8 things at once inside of Serato if I wanted to. Be very complex, and you'd have to make sure everything was locked in. It's a lot of syncing that needs to happen, but it is possible. So for those of you who want to get really creative with it, there's some different options that you can roll with. So sampler, really great tool. One more thing I'll show you. Sorry, I just looked at it. This part here, output. Right now I'm outputting through the master, but I can also send by sampler to one of the decks. And in this case, I'm using the 2-channel Flex 4, like a beginner controller. So this is great, but I'm a little bit limited. So I can send it to 1, 2, or the A, which is the aux, which I don't know where that actually sends to on the Flex 4. Let's try it out. Where? No. Oh, yeah. You don't even have the option to do it because there is no aux channel on the Flex 4. But if I sent this to, let's say, channel 2, now everything that I'm doing on this is going to send to channel 2. So when I actually have this up, right, and that's my sampler. Now technically, I could also play something on top of it because it's not necessarily replacing the second deck. It's just whatever I play on top of that then it's gonna get a little confusing in terms of what's going on. But if I had a 4-channel controller, I could send everything from my sampler into channel 3 or channel 4, which is also pretty cool. Because now I could actually send, let's say, a percussion loop into channel 3 and be able to bring that up over different things, or as just as another way of mixing. So really powerful and definitely an underutilized tool inside of Serato DJ Pro for a lot of people. All right. Any other questions that we have? Let me turn off my thing. Let me check the chat real quick. All right. Let's see. Low Beats asked, back to the AIFF and MP3s. Low Beats asked this: mixing AIFF with MP3s, is that okay? Yeah, 100%. In fact, you're probably not going to hear a huge difference between a 320 MP3 and an AIFF. You're really not. And especially the way that we're mixing. Keep in mind that you also have, when you're DJing, you also have access and you have control over everything. Like I can sort of give myself a little bit of a boost on that MP3 if I need to or whatever. And that's not exactly the same, but like if for whatever reason, like the MP3 wasn't as loud as the AIFF, I could sort of turn that up or turn the AIFF down or whatever. But generally speaking, to me, music is music, and I wouldn't worry too much about, I need to have this, I need to have the AIFF file or the WAV file, otherwise I can't play it or I'm going to sound horrible. That's generally not the case. Seriously, like I think most people it would be very difficult to tell. Now, inside of your library, I'm sure some of you know within your library there are certain songs that just the version of the MP3 you have or the version of the track that you have just doesn't sound very good. And maybe you know that you're waiting to replace that file at some point. Like we've all got something. In fact, do me a favor, and when you find something like that, tag it somehow. Say like low quality, or what do I have something tagged as? Like low quality, low file. How have I tagged that in mine? I've gotten most of those I've gotten rid of at some point, or replace. No. Can't find anything in my library. I think I've gotten rid of all of them. But if I did have anything, like you should tag it so that you know, okay, this is something I have to replace. Just write replace in it. And then anytime you search for replace inside of your Serato or inside of your DJ software, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Serato, that you'll see that then pop up. So thanks for that, Low Beats. Let's see. What else we got? Christopher Murphy, appreciate you being here. How to practice so I don't just mix the whole session. Yeah, most DJs practice wrong. And I've become very vocal about this because I want to share this with other people that are out there, that if you think that practice is only here, like when I'm on the decks and I'm like this is practice, this should only really be a small percentage of what your practice looks like. You actually should spend more time mapping out songs, really getting to know the music, breaking the songs down, setting hot cues, organizing your library. In fact, I think it should be 70 to 75% of your time should be spent doing that, and 25 to 30% of your time on the actual gear. Also, most people don't have a purpose for their practice. They haven't set that up. You should really think about this before you start practicing. Number one, what are you hoping to get out of this practice session? Right? Have a purpose in mind. And oftentimes it helps to also have a project. Are you working on something right now? Are you working on a mix? Are you is anybody holding you accountable to what that project is? Or is that just never ending? I have a book that I'm trying to write. If I don't have an accountability partner, it will never get done. It will be years before then I even sit down and start writing it. If I have somebody that's holding me accountable, now we're able to start to move forward. And I could say, all right, today our focus is on chapter 1. And like, this is what we're going to do. Or maybe not even today. over the next 3 months, we're focused on chapter 1. We're going to write the first draft of chapter 1 over the next 3 months, and then be able to break that down into smaller pieces, right? Because the reality is that all of you are busy. You have other things that you're doing. It's not like you have this excess of time. And even if you did have a whole bunch of extra time, it would be important to use that time wisely. So, to me, good practice or proper practice should make progress, right? We have a whole saying around here, proper practice makes progress, but also proper practice should have a purpose, and it should also be attached to a project. And that's so that you don't lose steam in your practice. I meet so many people who are just like, I know I just need to practice more. No, you don't. You don't need to practice more. You just need to have intention with your practice. You need to have a plan of what you're doing with practice. You need a partner. You need an accountability partner. There's a lot of P's in there, which is exactly, hopefully, easier to remember for you. But your practice should not just be, oh, I need to spend more time. And more time doesn't necessarily mean better results. In fact, usually it doesn't. It usually doesn't. If you spend more time, but you still don't have purpose in what it is that you're doing, all you're going to do is waste more time. And then you're going to be more upset about the progress that you have not made. So hopefully that helps. Chris, thanks for the question, though. That's a great question. All right. Lucio's here. Let's see. I really like the hot cue comment approach to help identify mix points. If you couldn't access the hot cue comments, how would you recommend labeling hot cues? I know specific colors are a big part. Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, and you maybe this is your first experience with me here, we have a hot cue system that we use around here, and it's really important, and it's color coded. And the colors represent length. And I'm not going to get all the way into it. We've got a full video. We've got several full videos on this. But if you've never experienced this, you've never watched this, I want you to head over to the djcoach.com. Go straight to the homepage. We've got a 16-minute lesson that is a completely free lesson. It is the most important lesson you could ever have as a DJ. It's more important than knowing your effects. It's more important than knowing how to scratch. It's more important than everything else that has to do with a DJ. Trust me. 16 minutes. It'll change your outlook on what it is that you're doing or reaffirm what it is that you're doing as a DJ. So go and check that out. If you haven't already, go to thedjcoach.com. You'll see that there's a free training available. Click on the free training and get access to it immediately. That is something that you should have. And we cover anatomy of the mix, and we also cover hot cue strategy. And it's the combination of those two things and the way that I break it down that is literally something that I think most people struggle with, at least getting the language for and fully understanding. And I hope that, I mean, we've got a lot of comments on, over the years of just how simple we make this. So make sure to go and do that. But back to Lucio's question about the colors and the comments. So check this out. When I go to my hot cues, I can also, not only do I have the colors, but I can write on them. Right? So I can say like instrumental intro. So I know that this is a 16 bar instrumental intro. And I know that because in my system, pink means 16 bars. This red one is halfway through. So I'm going to put a little divided by 2. It's like halfway through the intro. This is 8 bars because red is 8 bars in my system. This part here I can see is a drop. And the drop is 16 bars. How do I know that? It's pink. So it's 16 bars. Pink equals 16 bars. So I know that. I can see that. And I trust my maps because I've gone through and I've done this. So I now know that this is what it is. The last dropout is also 16 bars and then a 16 bar outro. And again, I can see all of that because I see the colors. Now, I can also write these. I can also write on those. So what Lucio's asking is, what if you couldn't access these comments? How would you know what these sections are? I'm going to give you 2 ways to answer this. Number 1, if you did the mapping and you're using the colors and you're using the system, that is the majority of what you need to know. That's the majority of what I need to know. I don't necessarily need to know that it's a drop or it's not a drop. In fact, you'll notice that I didn't even have those labeled. And I could tell you what those were even without even listening to this. I knew that this was a drop. Coach, how did you know that? Well, you'll get really good at reading the waveform as well. And when I say that, I don't mean that you're sitting here as you're playing live, looking at the track while you're playing live. That's not what we want to do, right? But I can glance over and see. And these hot cues, by the way, these are meant to be like bullet points. They're meant to remind me. They're meant to jog my memory. I'm not sitting here watching the waveform. Please do not mix watching the waveform. It's a bad habit. It's a really bad habit. And I see a lot of DJs doing this live. I'll go out and see DJs have their head buried in their laptop. Not because they're even looking for the next song, but because they're like trying to make sure that they mix it perfectly. And so they're like staring at like when to get in and out. Please don't do that. You're here for them, the audience that's here. And by the way, one of the reasons why DJs are doing that is because they've practiced that way. And again, this is that proper practice. Proper practice makes progress. Some people, some DJs are practicing staring at the screen. And so, yes, you are practicing 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week, but you're reinforcing the bad habit. Other DJs are practicing 10, 15, 20 hours a week with no headphones on. No headphones on. So then when it comes time to play the gig, you're also reinforcing that bad habit, which, by the way, having headphones is really important. It allows me to hear one step ahead of what's going on. It's an incredible tool that we have as a DJ. And the second you take that off, you lose your advantage. You lose hearing things one step ahead. So please make sure that you are practicing in a way that is how it would be at the actual gig. Tape a crowd in front of you. You know what I mean? Like and again, about that recording, hit record on your webcam, on your laptop, and then watch that back. It'll be a little cringeworthy for some of you because you'll basically see yourself doing this the whole time. It's true. It's true. I've seen it. I've watched it. But that's good, right? And this is not to shame anybody. This is to make you better and to give you tools. Like, I've got to be able to share honestly with you because I want you to be better. I want you to get better, right? So in this case, Lucio, the answer to the question is you just have to know your music, right? Like it becomes really important. And some of us, if we don't take enough time to really break down the music, we're not learning it. So the whole time I'm mapping a song out, I'm actually learning the song. I'm learning the sections. Now, am I memorizing it? Not entirely, because I have the hot cues to rely on. But I play a song a couple of times and then, like, yeah, I know the track, and you know it well enough to be able to play it. And that's the key to it. So I wouldn't worry too much about not having the notes and things like that. Sometimes the notes can actually make it worse. You ever seen somebody try to read a speech that they wrote and then, like, accidentally skip a line, like, as they were reading? Like, it becomes a disaster, right? So a lot of times it would be better just to have the bullet points, not to have the full speech, but to have the bullet points. And that's what I think the hot cues are. The hot cues are the bullet points. So hopefully that helps, man. But don't worry too much about you not having the actual what it was. You need to trust yourself. I think a lot of us, we don't trust ourselves enough. We're relying on the technology to tell us something that we should already know. Like, sometimes like at this point now, there's all sorts of technology, right? Where you can go and ask ChatGPT, what should I play on Friday for this type of 90s hip hop gig? And it's going to spit out some stuff to you, right? And it'll tell you. And some of them are decent suggestions. Some things are like, oh, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Okay, that's a good one. But trust your intuition. Trust your instinct. We cannot rely on the technology to the point where we're just completely numb to it and we can't do anything without the technology. We have to be, and I'm not saying that that's the case with you, Lucio. I'm just saying that in general, I think it's really important that we tap into what makes you uniquely human. You got into DJing because all of your friends love your playlists. You got into DJing because you yourself love discovering new music and sharing that new music with people. You got into DJing because you like the idea of bringing in a song and watching the crowd react to it. And once you take some of those pieces out of that and you take some of your gut intuition out of that, then it just becomes this very monotonous, robotic thing. And then you're so scared to not have the technology that, you feel like your skill is dependent on the technology, and it's not. Put me in front of a pair of turntables with some vinyl records. I'll be all right. There'll be certain things I can't do the same way as I could with the digital stuff, but put me in front of, like, look, there's intention behind this, by the way, of me using a Flex 4 here live with you. I could pull out an AZ that's here in the studio. I could pull out a pair of CDJs here in the studio. I could pull out, any sort of other new technology, new controller that's here that's more expensive, Rev 5, Flex 10, any of that stuff. But this, I want to show you that, like, you can do anything that you need to do on a $300 controller. And that's real talk. You should be able to DJ with a $300 controller. It's not the gear that makes you who you are. All right, let's see. Joey Mack is here. I use sampler for my DJ drops. Yes. DJ drops. And by the way, like, at some point, I think every single one of you should invest in a DJ drop. I don't suggest that you're dropping that every track, but I think to be able to have that is great for your mixes. It's great for just audible identification or an extension of your brand. I think everybody should have a DJ drop, in my opinion. Okay, Skills says, can you show us quick mixing with popular songs? Not just EDM or house, but songs at bars, clubs, without using stems. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a full video actually on this, on this YouTube channel. And I would encourage you to check that out. Being that we're live here on YouTube, I can't take all the popular music and start mixing them together. There's a list of tracks that we're able to use on here, so I can't do that right now. But we did record a video for that. It is up. There are no copyright strikes on that, thankfully. But go and check that out. But I don't want the live stream to get shut down because of that. But go check out that quick mixing video. What we can do, it's on the channel. You'll see it here on the channel. And I could also see if Coach Bry can put a link to that here in the chat. So thanks for that, Skills. And yes, being able to mix out of songs quicker also is really helpful. Just to be able to keep the energy up, keep the momentum going oftentimes. Okay, cool. We are we're a little bit over our hour, but I will take a couple, like, maybe let's take two more questions, Coach Bry. So if there's anything that you see, or there's anything that, like, other people have sent in through our other channels, let me know. Let me know anything else that you want me to cover right here. For those of you who are joining us live, go ahead and put it in the chat. Anything that you want me to cover, I'll do two more questions. And by the way, hopefully this has been helpful for a lot of you, because I said this at the very beginning of the stream. A lot of times the way that we learn things today is we go to a search bar and we type something in. The problem is, what if you don't know what to type? Or what if you only type this one thing? Then you're only learning that one thing. This is a really great environment because you might be learning things that you didn't even think about asking. Like, that wasn't even on your mind, and yet you're learning that way. So we really wanted to open up this type of small group, live coaching feel for anybody here on YouTube, anybody in the world, to be able to join in and be a part of something like this. And if you like this format, we do have coaching programs that exist on the djcoach.com. We have coaching programs for our semi-pro and also our pro DJ cert. So if you like this type of environment, it's even better there, because you get a chance to learn. You get a chance to learn with teammates and build relationships with people located all over that are all at around your same skill level. So I highly would recommend that for anybody who finds this helpful. Okay, Mo Berry from the DMV, what's going on? Clags, thank you for the confirmation that this was a good live help. Awesome. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Oh wait, DJ Ace Grinds has something. I got about 6 DJ drops, but I don't use Thievery track. Got to let the music breathe. Okay, I'm not quite. I think I got that. I got about 6 DJ drops. Okay. Thievery, like, when I think about Thievery, I think about Thievery Corporation. So, but maybe that's not what you're talking about. But if you're playing Thievery Corporation, you definitely want to let it breathe. If anybody doesn't know, Thievery Corporation is incredible music. Make sure to go check that out. Which, by the way, I do want to say this. On that note, I just want to encourage everybody here. you got into this because you love music. And at the core of what it is that you do as a DJ, we need to keep the music front and center. Like that needs to be the priority. So all this other stuff is great. Love it. Love learning new techniques. Love all of that. But we've got to keep the music the main thing, and the curation of that music the main thing. So I just want to encourage all of you to make sure that you are continuing to expose yourself to new sounds, new music, things that would inspire you. I think sometimes, especially as a working DJ, you tend to get caught up in sort of the, what's on the chart, what are they playing on radio, what is trending on TikTok, what is, and you sort of get caught up in that. But I want to just hopefully encourage somebody out there that you have a unique ear, and that there are things that you will gravitate towards, that you will share with an audience that you're playing in front of, that will be something that they've never heard before. And it's not because this is the new Taylor Swift or the new Chappell Roan or the new, Kendrick song or whatever. It's because it's something that you found somewhere, and you believe in it. You're passionate about it. And I want you to play those records. Like, DJs need to break records. We need to get back to that part of it. Like, that's a big part of this. And I'm not saying that you should only be playing stuff that you like. I think there's a mix, right? We have to find that balance between what the audience is sort of expecting, and then also what the audience isn't expecting. And a good DJ, in my opinion, is somebody that's able to fuse those things together in a really skillful way. So I just want to inspire anybody that's out there to, if it's been a while, if it's hard for you to name a song that you have found recently that you're passionate about, this is a reminder that you need to get out of the top hits Spotify playlist and dig around, find things that tickle your ear, find things that are interesting, and then keep going down that, figuring out how you piece these things together. Because we need more DJs that are introducing sounds or reintroducing sounds to audiences, not just playing the same old. Okay, let's see. We got a couple in the chat here. Let me look at them. Okay. Great set. Oh, low beats. Thanks. Let's see. I have a question. I am from Clearwater, Florida, not far from Tampa. Do you think it's worth driving to Tampa for DJ practice? I don't know how far that is, but you said it's not that far. Do I think it's worth driving to Tampa for DJ practice? I think it depends on the context. What I definitely think is well worth it is putting yourself in places that you're meeting other people, that you're being introduced to people, that you're being introduced to people that are cut from a similar cloth. Like that, I think is well worth it. And in fact, actually, I'm going to shout out one of our Pro DJ Cert students, current students right now. His name is Wide Awakes OG. He's the one who gave this to me, so I got to give him his credit. I told him every time I say this, I'm going to give him credit for this. But he told me this, and he got this from somebody else, and I can't remember who he got it from, but I'm just going to credit him. You need to be seen in the scene you want to be seen in. I'm going to say it again because it's a bit of a tongue twister. You need to be seen in the scene that you want to be seen in. Let's break it down, Coach. All right. Let's say you want to be a DJ in bars and nightlife, but you don't go out on Friday. You don't go out on Saturday. You don't go out at all. You're just at home making mixes. Nothing wrong with at home making mixes, but that's not how you're going to get your opportunity. That's not how you're going to get your shot. You should be out. If that's what you want to be doing, you should make it a point to go out to 2 to 3 different spots on Friday, then go to 2 to 3 different spots on Saturday. And I'm not saying that you need to be out all the time, but if this is the scene that you want to be seen in, you got to get used to being out and being seen. I know. It's like, here's the thing though, all joking aside, despite me saying that, there's still some people that are out there that are like, what? Why? Or they're still not going to go and do it. You might know it, and you might know that that's what you need to do, but doing it is something else, right? We all know that. We all know that like there are things that we know we should do, but it's harder. Like doing them is something completely different. I know I should eat better. I know I should work out more. It's good for me. But do I do it? Sometimes. Right? Sometimes that, Chick-fil-A just I'm craving the waffle fries, right? Like sometimes that happens. So, anyways, I'm saying this to you because I think it's also important to have somebody that holds you accountable. And so have people around, and that again, that person doesn't necessarily have to be a DJ. Bonus points if it's a DJ. Bonus points if it's a coach like me who then knows some of these pieces already. And this is what I do for a living, so I know exactly where the traps are. I know exactly like what you'll fall into. But it could also be your spouse, your partner, your best friend. It could be somebody like that who's like, hey man, you said you wanted to be out. Like, come on, let's go. Like, you said let's be out. All right, so four times a month we're gonna go out, and I'll go with you, and we'll get it on the calendar. Next Friday we're gonna go down to this spot. Next, Saturday we're gonna go to this spot. We need to go out and actually be in those environments. Meet the DJs that are in those spaces, if there are DJs. If there's no DJ, then like go out and soak it up. Maybe this is a place that could use a DJ, but you got to be able to go out and do that. Now, I don't know if that was the question that you were asking me, Easy Bear or Ezzy Bear, but I think that actually is worth the drive. I think that's worth the drive to Tampa, in my opinion, is going out and seeing DJs and meeting people and being in those types of environments. Going there to practice, I don't know exactly what that means. If you're going there because there are a bunch of DJs that are getting together that are going to practice, maybe that would be worth it. It would be worth it for the meeting people, not necessarily for the practice part of it. The practice part of it you could do at home by, the things that we were talking about, making sure that you're recording your sets, recording every practice session, having a purpose for every practice session, working towards a project, putting things together, right? Like you could do that at home. You don't necessarily need to drive somewhere to go and do that. But to meet people, yeah, absolutely go and do that. That's well worth the gas or whatever. I mean, I don't know what gas prices are like in Florida, but currently right now, gas prices are killing us in California. Okay, let's see. Let's see. We've got a couple that are here. I was able to make about it. Okay, so let's see. I'm just looking over. Can we look over mapping out specific transitions that are off the beat grid? Like if you want to repeat one specific thing they said, but it's not on tempo. Okay, this is a really good question. If you wanted to loop a particular section, but it wasn't necessarily on beat. So I'm going to take we'll use this same example. And the reason why I'm also using this example right now is because we know that this is free for like all good for us to use. So let me get to here. I know the stream won't get shut down. All right, so let's get here and let's say that there's a section here that we want. So let's see. So let's say the room. The room, okay? So we're going to or we can take this ooh. So if I were to do this, like, let's say I were to make a manual loop. So I'm going to have to select in. Okay, so I'm going to set out here. So the beat is going to be off, right? Like the actual beat is going to be off because this is now not on beat. So I set the in and I set the out. Right, it's going to be off. So this is how you would do this. If you wanted to set something that was offbeat, you would have to manually set the in and the out. And now that I have the loop, I could actually save that loop if I wanted to here inside of Serato. Now, another cool thing, I'm going to show you this because I know we weren't necessarily anticipating showing you this, but I'm going to show this to you real quick. This is a really cool technique. So let's say I wanted to take this and then I wanted to shorten this up. Some of you have heard this type of transition. I'm going to hit out. right? I can shorten this all the way down by using the jog wheel. Now, this could be used as a part of a transition into like a cold start song, where then I'm jumping straight into something else, or I'm slamming into a song, right? So, or this could be used as just a way, sort of similar to how you would use an echo effect or something like that, where you're changing this up, right? Either way, kind of a cold start situation. Right? I could use that as a technique. So there are other ways to use that in and out, that manual in and out. And by using the in or the out, you click on it first, and then you're able to use the jog wheel. If you were connected to a controller, you're able to use the jog wheel to then change the length or the position of that out. In this case, I used the out, and I brought the out all the way back until I made it shorter, and then got it to the point where it was. Oh, I let go of the loop. I let go of the loop, but if I re-loop it there we go. So. And the nice thing is you have real control over that. You could even use this to mix. You could bring in another song underneath this, because now at this point it's just this sound that's happening. So if I were to bring in maybe the same track underneath this, so wait a second. Let me see if this is. Right, you get the idea. Cool. Well, these are great questions. I've really appreciated some of the questions that you all have given us tonight, and hopefully we've helped you answer some of these. Wait, hold on a second. You said you can't hear it. Let me see. I lost my ears here for a second. You couldn't hear this loop that was happening? Let me see. You can't hear that? You should be able to hear that. I don't know, that'd be weird that you can't hear that. Oh, I know why. I know why you can't hear it. Hold on a second. Okay, let me try this again. So let me do it for you so you can actually see it. Sorry about that. All right, so I know why you couldn't hear it. All right, so let's see. Let's set the in on this side. Let me do this again. So I'm going to set an in here. And I'm going to set an out there. Hang on, let me re-loop that. In. Hold on a second. My Serato's tripping out now. I think we've like exhausted it. But let me see. Let me see if I can let me reload this track. Try to reload that. Eject it off the deck really quick. Okay. Let's try this again. All right, so now. Can you hear it now? Can you guys hear it now? Okay, so now you hear it, right? And now it's off. And now if I click out, so let me bring this into this shot here. I hit out. Right? So like I can use this as a way of transition. And some of you have heard this. You've heard other DJs doing this type of transition. This is basically shortening the loop, but you're doing it manually. So you're not shortening the loop based off of 4 beats, 2 beats, 1 beat, half beat, quarter beat. Like you're shortening it manually, which allows you to have a lot more control over it, and it allows you to actually use the jog wheel. So I could do this and like I said, be able to go straight into a cold start record, or I could do this and be able to bring a track in underneath it. Because the fact that I've got this track running, let me see if I've, yeah, Serato's mad at me right now. It keeps like duplicating things. Let me see. Right. So if I were to bring a track underneath this, just gives me some other options. You'll notice that my waveform isn't moving. Like I said, Serato's mad right now. I think I've overdone it. Okay. Question, can you use the auto loop and then adjust it with the wheel? Yes, you can. So you can use an auto loop first, and then you would hit out on here. So then you would hit out, and then you would use the wheel. So you could start with an auto loop, then hit out, and then be able to adjust it. Yes, 100% you can do that. Sweet. Sorry for the no music for a moment in time there. There we go. Okay. I think there were a couple of questions that maybe we didn't get to. I apologize if we didn't get a chance to get to your question tonight. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. I will be going live once a week on this channel. Like for the most part, I think we're going to stick to evenings during the weekdays. Those days may fluctuate a little bit initially, but we are going live on the channel. We're also going live on Twitch. I know there's a couple people that are watching on Twitch, but we're also going to be like mostly focused on YouTube of this type of live training. Some of it also to Twitch though. And if you have any questions that pop up and there are things that you want us to prepare ahead of time, send us a question. You can send a email to Hapa, H-A-P-A, at thedjcoach.com, and I will put it in the queue as something to cover on an upcoming live help. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you got something out of tonight. I hope that maybe you got a question answered directly, or that you got some value out of this, of spending your time here. Like, time is the most valuable resource that all of us have. And my goal is to make sure that you're not wasting time, and that I'm not wasting my time either. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being locked in during this time. I know you could be doing a bunch of other things, and we really appreciate you being here, trying to level up your DJ skills. If you have any questions about any of the other programs that we run, or you want to be able to figure out like how you can keep something like this with more regularity, hit us up. We'd be happy to help you out. You can email me, Hapa at thedjcoach.com. And thank you, everybody. Shout out to all of our all pros that are here. I see some of you that are here in the chat. I appreciate you all being here. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Good night.